A while ago, I made a video on what triggers people based on their Mars sign. And I promised I'd make a more useful follow-up, one that's not about getting annoyed, but about actually getting things done. So this is it. When you are in your Mars mode, you feel clear, you know what you want, you're not afraid to go after it. You stop wanting for the perfect moment and you just move. It's that sense of forward motion that cuts through confusion, through doubt. You feel more alive, you feel more focused, more in charge. Decisions get easier, boundaries feel more natural. Even the hard things start to feel doable because you are no longer hesitating, you're engaged. That's what Mars energy gives you. And your Mars sign tells us how to access it. I'm Nadia, the astrologer for people who do not necessarily believe in astrology, but who like exploring their natal charts. And this is a video on how to get your Mars on, turn it on, and gain access to the energy it can give you. A side note, two side notes actually. One, your Mars sign has nothing to do with your normal zodiac sign. The zodiac sign that everyone knows about themselves, it is your sun sign. To know about your Mars sign, you have to calculate your natal chart online or with an app. Or maybe there is an online Mars sign calculator. That's also a possibility. Point is, you can be a Sagittarius with Mars in Cancer or a Pisces with Mars in Capricorn. And this video is about your Mars sign, not your sun sign. Side note number 2 is that aside from rare situations in which Mars is super prominent in a natal chart and connected to everything else in it, you don't really want to be in your Mars mode very often. Think of Mars as adrenaline. Sometimes it's nice to be pumping adrenaline for a while. It does make you more decisive, strong, bold, assertive. But most of the times you don't really need it. So the point of this video is not to turn us into warriors forever. It is to give us ideas on how to sometimes, when we need it and can benefit from it, how to have access to this type of energy, how to be flexible about it, how to be more intentional about it. So I hope you have your own Mars sign ready and maybe that of the people who are important to you. And let's go. Aries. Mars in Aries. If your Mars is in Aries, there's 2 ways to get your adrenaline pumping. Number 1 is to physically do it with sport and some mild physical or psychological risk, like skiing or going on stage. Vigorous physical activity can also do the trick, but don't overdo it. You have to be invigorated, not wiped out. You can experiment. You can do a set of push-ups or squats before a work session and see how that affects your motivation. Number 2 of the ways to access your Mars is a very narrow deadline. So narrow that you need to perform now, like now, or you have failed. So preparation work doesn't count, only what you can show now. It could be working with a client who is already there physically and can make a purchase now, or needs to be provided with a service now, or a live performance, or yes, also a very tight deadline. Taurus. Mars in Taurus is considered to be relatively weak, and maybe it is, unless we try to make a person with Mars in Taurus do something they feel strongly against. Their power of resistance is magnificent. So if you can frame whatever your current situation is as someone trying to take something away from you, or as someone trying to make you into something you're not, there your inner animal may lend you some of its power. Another option is building a relationship with that inner animal, like giving it a name, an image, like what kind of animal that is, a personality, and communicating with it, asking it to step in when you need its power. This is a more laborious thing, but it will allow you more flexibility. So if you feel like it may be your thing, I would absolutely recommend at least trying to do it. Mars in Gemini is not known to be very orderly or to compete fairly. It doesn't like fair competition with clear rules and criteria. These situations make it bored. I mean, if the rules are already known, how is that interesting? What motivates it instead is handling situations in which it's not yet clear what the rules are, what shortcuts exist or can be created, or what winning is even defined as. This Mars is at the top of its game when there is a chance to outsmart others. So, if you need its energy, you'd have to get creative and try something that other people are not trying. Doing things unofficially is a little bit exciting for this Mars, or calling in favors. Anything to avoid doing what all of the other people are also doing. Because these other people may have discipline that Mars in Gemini is lacking. So discipline is not this Mars's strongest suit, but the burning desire to trick others kind of is, and should be put to use. Mars in Cancer is difficult to tap into, not because it doesn't have the power, but because its power is at its most powerful in situations we don't want to find ourselves in. Like when you're protecting your child, yeah, this is the situation where the mama bear can really turn mountains. But it doesn't give us much in terms of achieving normal goals that are removed from life and death situations. But there is a trick. Cancer is a sentimental sign that not so secretly enjoys being taken for an emotional ride. In other words, it can absolutely be motivated by a motivational anything. A movie, a YouTube video that presses the right buttons, a book about how someone persevered and tried very hard and against all odds ended up achieving their goal, especially if you want to cry after reading it. If you want your Mars to be helping you, you need to help it get properly emotional about something. Manipulate yourself into feeling strongly about what you need to feel strongly about. Mars in Leo. For a Mars in Leo, the moment to pull itself together and give you the energy that will allow you to perform on a very high level is when your reputation is at stake. Or a noble cause, but it's often one and the same, because if you do have a noble cause and it's damaged because of what you did or didn't do, that would definitely hurt your reputation as a good person. So if you want to perform on a high level, get as public with it as possible. Overpromise, make a grand claim, and then work your ass off to make sure people don't come to the idea that you're a fraud. In a modern world, we are often told to stop caring about what people think about us, but for your Mars to be energized, you need to be thinking of it quite often, and you may even get very dramatic about it. Mars in Virgo is great at just doing the job, at being methodical, at getting high off its own mastery. People with Mars in Virgo just need to be good at what they do, meaning that if you don't develop any special skills as a Mars in Virgo person, you won't be energized. Some form of mastery is needed to get in the zone. So recommendation number 1 here is to work on your skill set and become so much better at what you do that you respect yourself for it. Another source of energy for your Mars is being hardcore or even a baddie, whatever that means for you. Now, Virgo and hardcore are not immediately connected, but think about it this way. If your skills are irreplaceable, that gives you a certain level of freedom. People tend to care less about how you look or how you behave if they really need to get the job done and you are the one that can do it. So this aura of hardcore capability and freedom that comes with it may also jolt your Mars into action. Mars in Libra is traditionally seen as one of the weakest, and I passionately disagree. Thing is, Libra is a sign of civilization and whatever comes with it. And a civilized society can be cruel and violent only in a civilized manner, with the use of laws, social pressure, inclusion, exclusion. So these are all Mars's weapons when it is in Libra. To energize it, it helps to think of how whoever you're up against is wrong, and to then try to fight them with being more according to laws and regulations than they are. You don't have to be completely honest about it. So if there's two conflicting sets of regulations that both apply and one serves you better, this is the one you use, obviously. You can also use formal logic if it's proving you right. Getting visibly angry may upset this Mars, but behaving in a civilized manner and winning, that's what keeps you sharp and energized. And just like with Mars in Gemini, you may be more energized to use the useful connections you were able to make to then achieve your goals. Mars in Scorpio is the best survival tool one can hope for, but it's also unpractical and honestly unimpressive in situations where survival is kind of guaranteed. So no, I'm not suggesting for you to get yourself into genuinely dangerous situations. Instead, I suggest that you get properly angry at someone. Get yourself some enemies. If a person with Mars in Scorpio has an arch nemesis, a proper formidable opponent, it's so easy for them to find motivation. This person you will be hating doesn't even know that you guys are enemies because, Scorpios are secretive. But in order for it to work, you need to kind of nurture that hatred, even if it's fake hatred. Another thing that can energize you is transformation. It cannot be very long term, but you may handle a few months of consistent effort if the goal is to change into something new and if you can track the progress. Mars in Sagittarius. Well, Sagittarius is in general an adventurous sign, and if your Mars is there, you would be energized by living an adventure or by being on a quest, by riding a wave. Basically, whatever you're doing, it has to be challenging enough, but also exciting and meaningful. Like you took on a project that means something to you. And if you succeed, you will get a meaningful, valuable result. But the road you're supposed to take is unclear. Ideally, it's something, yes, meaningful, open-ended, and just slightly out of your depth. Routine dulls you. And so does anything that feels like small goals. You need to aim high, even if it would seem reckless to somebody else. So if you want to unlock your drive, add some risk and add some belief. So turn your life into a story worth telling, and your Mars will start sharing energy generously. Mars in Capricorn does not like to waste energy. So small battles seem unworthy to it. It loves a good long-term goal, something that other people wouldn't do because they lack your stamina. The downside here is that you wouldn't know anything about your stamina unless you have had an experience of demonstrating it. So one way to nurture your Mars is to get yourself into something very long-term. You don't even have to feel passionate about it. You just need to keep going. Medical school would be one such thing, or authoring a project that you just cannot leave for some reason for several years. The more effort you put into this thing, the more your Mars will motivate you to go all the way. And bonus points if someone said you couldn't do it. That I'll show them vibe is a hidden energy vault for this Mars. Mars in Aquarius. Such an easy Mars. Doing what everyone else is doing is a no. Fighting for the right to do it your way is a yes. It's a little bit like Mars in Gemini, but with a twist and with more staying power. So Gemini Mars just wants to outsmart everyone, and that's why it does things unconventionally. Mars in Aquarius, on the other hand, just has a weird way of doing things, like this is how it wants to do it. And it may even seem unsmart, like it's making things more complicated. And then it is motivated to prove to itself and to others that it's also possible to succeed doing things its way. Mars in Gemini wants to circumvent the rules of the game, cheat a little bit. But Mars in Aquarius, ideally, wants to change the rules of the game. And it can get super excited if it starts looking like it may be possible to do it. So if you want to be energized by this Mars, embrace how weird you are and try to make it work. First for yourself, but then maybe for other weirdos as well. Mars in Pisces is a dreamy artist warrior that is very unpredictable. People with Mars in Pisces are often unsure about what motivates them, and they are likely to experience the relationship they have with their inner warrior as a relationship with a muse. Unreliable, but also magical when it works. So what Pisces loves is what most other people would see as useless. Imagination for the sake of imagination, art for the sake of the art, love for the sake of love, and so on. In other, simpler words, this Mars loves a good hobby. It's also inspired when you're weaving some kind of magic, not necessarily in a literal sense, more like the idea you're working on feels like it has some magic in it. And if you want to be thoroughly energized, aim at nothing less. So that's Mars in a nutshell. Your inner engine, your fighter, your way of getting things done when things need to get done. Knowing how to access your Mars can really change the game for you. So try things out. Test recommendations I gave for different signs even. See what works best for you. And if you're trying to understand why people you know suddenly snap sometimes, I invite you to watch the other, more unserious video I made a few months ago on how to provoke people based on their Mars sign. I also actually have a whole playlist of videos on how to do different things based on the placements you have in your natal chart. I'll link it below. See if you are interested in some of the installments. And of course, feel free to share this with someone who might need a little Mars boost. And I'll see you in the next video. I will not be in full warrior mode, but I'm preparing an interesting one for you.